Okay, so I'm going to continue through my through solving some of these topic 4 problems. This is from May 2018. We have a collection of data, so it's basically an array: 2, 4, 1, negative 2, negative 4, 1, 0. We have this pseudocode, and then this is all about making a trace table. So first things first, let's just do our x. Let's do array x, counter, sum, and then finally output. So we can do some lines on here. It's just for me. Let's do some good lines on here. Let's see, I think we're gonna loop from 0 to 6, so we should have like 7, at least 7 columns on, 7 rows on here. Let's do a bunch of these. Not super good, but actually, let me just back that up. Anyways, probably should have turned off the camera for that one so I can get that a little bit, save some time here. But okay, so we're going to go through this pseudocode, and we'll set the counter equal to 0, sum is equal to 0. You know, I think I'm going to skip a line, so that way that can be like my initial values. I like that way of doing it. I don't think it's really going to matter as far as like the IB exam, but for me personally, I want to keep that kind of by itself. Like that's the starting values. And I'm going to go into here, and now we're going to enter into our loop. X is going to be equal to 0. Array X is equal to that. So there's no array X here. So what they're saying is they're creating a new array, and they're going to put in data or put in values from this array. One thing I should mention here is that data.resetNext is a good piece of pseudocode. I don't know. We'll have to look through the rubric to see if they'll take off points for not including this. But it's a way to make sure that we are starting at the beginning of our array. So when we're doing like .getNext, I think I said this in a different video too, but like that's going to let us make sure we're starting at the beginning, just in case. So I'm not sure exactly if they'll take off points for leaving that off, but good thing to do. Okay, so data.getNext. So we're going to look through the first set of data. If it's greater than 0, yes, 2 is greater than 0, then array X is going to be equal to data.getNext. Okay, so we're going to be 2 here. Counter is going to increase to 1. Sum is going to be equal to the previous sum, 0, plus the array X, so we're going to get 2. No output. Okay, we'll loop through. X is now going to be 1. Array X is going to be equal to data. Okay, so that's 4. Oh yeah, the the next data is 4, so it's going to be greater than 0, so we enter our loop. So then therefore array X is equal to 4. Counter is going to increase by 1. Make sure I'm careful about doing that. Sum is going to be equal to new sum is old sum plus array X. We get 6. Still no output. Still in the loop. Now X is going to be 2. Okay, so get next. Okay, the next value is going to be 1. 1 is still greater than 0. We'll go into the loop. This is going to be 1. Counter is going to be 3. Sum is now going to be 7. Still no output. Let's go back through. X is going to be equal to 3. When X is 3, data.getNext, that's going to be negative 2. So this isn't true, so we're going to skip this statement. And now X is going to be 4. So we're basically skipping that entire line. And 4, so index 4 is going to be negative 4. Negative 4 is not greater than 0, so again, we're going to skip that and increase our X value to 5. Fifth is 1. 1 is greater than 0, so array X becomes 1. Counter is going to increase by 1. Sum is going to become 8. And then we're on to our last line. So X is going to become 6. But we'll see here, so we're going to get this last value here. And yeah, okay. And then in here, 0 is not greater than 0, so we won't do that, and we'll be done. And now we need to do our output. Output is going to be equal to sum divided by counter. So sum is 8, counter is 4. 8 divided by 4, so we should get a result of 2. So let's take a look. I'm going to pause the video real quick. Let me pull up the answer key. Okay, and let's take a look at this. I'll pull this over a little bit. Okay, so X is going to go 0 through 6. Great. 2, 4, 1, bunch of spaces, 1. Yeah, counter. I think it'll be okay to leave this out. 2, that looks good. So 1 correct column. Yeah. So I'm going to say, like, for me personally, I think this would be fine. I mean, we didn't update the values in here, I don't think this would really matter too much because, you know, those values aren't being updated. It's not like, I mean, these values aren't being changed, so I think leaving them as they are should be fine. I think as long as we get to the correct answer and we have these in the correct order, I'm going to assume this should be good. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so looking at question number, well, part B, I guess, here. Oh, go out of here. Get out of here. So let's see. Starting from here. I feel like these are kind of disconnected, but maybe they'll come back together later. Stored in a collection, passengers. P, yeah, okay. And we're kind of adding these values, and then so all we need to do is take this from here, construct pseudocode that's going to pass it into an array. So I guess the point of this is that, you know, a collection could be a variety of things. We typically think of it as being an array, but I don't think this is really that big of a deal for this one. So let's take a look here. If I do this, oh, that's good. Didn't realize I could do that. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is, so we're going to need to have an array called p array. So we could declare that p array, and I think we could do this a lot of different ways. You know, probably the best way is to use like a while loop. So loop while, and we have this collection passengers. While passengers, like as long as there's something left, as long as there's another item in the collection, stay in this loop. It's a pretty common thing to use, I think, for any type of collection. If there's something else in there, keep going. What we're going to have to do is, if we're going to add this to an array, we need to identify like where we're going to add it to the array. I almost wonder if we could just use like an add function on here in our collections, but I'll be safe. I'm going to make an x value here. I'll make an I. I'll even make an index, so we're clear about what's happening here. So basically all we're going to do is, in our p array, we're going to move the things that are in passengers into the p array. So p array, we're going to match the location, or match the index using our index value. So we start at 0, and that's going to be equal to passengers, and I think we can use get next. And probably up here, a good thing to do here will be passengers. Just kind of thinking about it. We should probably do something, they always want to have that kind of reset next, which I think we did. Didn't we see that a little bit earlier here? Data.reset next. So I think we could do that too, just to make sure we're kind of starting at the beginning. Yeah, reset next. Yeah, so passengers got get next, and then all we need to do is like index equals. I'm going to do plus equals 1. I know sometimes I like to do index is equal to index plus 1, but that seems kind of like useless here. Yeah, and I think that should be it. I mean, it seems like kind of not much to this. Let's take a look at the answer key to see kind of how do they do this one. So we're defining an array. Oh, they did do this. They did the reset next thing. Okay. Why am I putting in parentheses? As long as it has next. Yeah, kind of interesting. Why are they not? It sounds like the syntax is not consistent. Like here they're saying while, but typically it's loop while. But anyways, I guess it doesn't matter too much. And while loop. What were we thinking about? Idea of a loop, sure. Yeah, so for while. Okay, so they're saying that. Correct condition, correct reading. Because I think we could have done, make it even easier, like reset the p array, like p array reset next, passengers reset next, and then just say passenger dot, what's the command? There's an IB command term for, or an IB pseudocode command for, like, I think you could just do get next, or no, add next, or add. I think you could do probably like p array dot add parentheses passenger dot get next, and that should also work here. But I think maybe, just to be clear, what they do say in sometimes in the pseudocode, and I don't want to ramble here, but in the pseudocode they do say, if it trivializes the problem, then you shouldn't use it. They do have like a set of things that you can use, but maybe that would be trivializing the problem. But I think you'd probably be safe using that. Oh, I think my kids are awake out there. Okay, so let's try and finish up and get on to part C. Oh, I want to look at the answer. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting problem. Using p-array, so we've already created the array, so all the data is stored in an array. We're going to construct pseudocode to output the day of the week with the highest average number of passengers. Use the sub-procedure convert. Okay, so we're going to say should not assume that data for an exact number of weeks is stored. I wonder why that's important. You should not assume that data for an exact number of weeks. I guess that means there could be a partial week. Seems fine. I don't see why that's really a problem. So we want to find the highest average number of passengers. So what I think we should do here is make another, I think there's a lot of different ways to solve this problem. I think we should make another array that has 7 values in it, and that's going to stand for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then we'll go through, and I think we'll just basically keep adding to that array. Like we'll look through this P array, and we'll find all of the Mondays, and we'll find those values and put those into an array. Put that into the, I guess, Monday is going to be 1, right? Is that correct? We're starting on Monday, so that's going to be 0. So basically every Monday will get added to the 0 index in our new array. And then once we're done looking through the list, adding those things all to the array, then we'll need to look through that array, and we can return the index location of the, I guess, the thing that has the most number of passengers in there. So let's take a look here. So there's a few things that we'll have to do to figure out here. Like one thing, so this is actually kind of interesting because this doesn't come up in a lot of problems that I've seen here, but I think we're definitely going to have to use modulo here. Well, there's maybe another way to get around it, but modulo is certainly the easiest way. Because we're going to find, okay, so there's day 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're starting with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So in order to identify all the days that are Monday, so that's like this one, this one, this one, what we're going to have to do is use modulo, right? Because there's that kind of repeating cycle here. And depending on the day, so if we modulo our day, so mod 7, that's going to get the day of the week. So if it's like, we can see Tuesday, right? So if we mod 1 mod 7, we'll get a remainder of 1. If we do 8 mod 7, we'll also get a remainder of 1. So in both those cases, that's going to be a Tuesday. So what we're going to have to do is, as we look through this P array, we're going to have to mod the index to figure out what day it is. All right? Okay, so let's see how that kind of works here. So let me try and get some fresh paper here somehow. Something like that. Wish I could like stretch this down a little bit. That should be okay. Close enough. Okay, I'll scratch that out. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to set up at the end they're going to do the conversion for us, so we don't have to worry about going through and like figuring out 1 is whatever day. Like it's going to handle all that for us. So very first thing that we need to do is create an array. I'm going to call it, let's say, I'm not going to make it too long. I'm just going to call it daily. I could call it like daily passengers, but I think this is going to be better. Okay, so we have P array here. So we're going to have to look through, for sure, we're going to have to look through P array. So let's say P array, and let's, really cannot write. I should probably be taking a rest instead of writing rest there. Okay, so array. We're going to we need to reset next to get us back to the beginning of this array. I wonder if we should reset next daily. And we're declaring it, so it's already seems like there shouldn't be anything in there. But I think, did I say rest again? My goodness. All right, so we'll say daily reset too as well, just to be safe. All right, and reset next. Okay, so we need to look through P array. So we're going to do a loop while P array dot has next. I wonder if we need to we'll probably need to start with a count too, right? Because we're going to have to like check through all the different locations in the array. So let's say count is equal to 0. I think that should work here, because I think the has the next thing is good, but it doesn't include like an index. Like if we did a for loop in here, there would be an index included. I think we have to provide our own index using this kind of count. Okay, so let's say, all right, so we're starting at day 0. So based on the index, we need to kind of put it into one of these 7 slots in daily. So okay, so I'm going to say daily. So the index location of daily, like wherever we're going to store this value, is going to be the location within daily, like the index within daily, is going to be equal to count mod 7, because like the count is keeping track of where we're at in p-array. Like if we just did count in here, then we'd just be copying the list. But we want to be looking through like the count indexes, but we want to convert that, we want to mod that to convert it into either a number between 0 and 6 to store in daily. So daily is going to be equal to, or I'd say daily index location is going to be plus equal to p array, and then we're going to use count. We need to make sure we increment count. I'll say plus equals 1. And let's see, is that going to do it for us? This is going to loop all the way through p array. We're using count to keep track of where we're at in p array, starting at 0. We're increasing count as we go through. We are, so I mean, like if we look at the right side of this equation, or this command, I guess, this is accessing the right spot, and our p array is going to be keep increasing. And then we're saying, I wish I had, maybe I think I could, I still have this somewhere? Over here we were saying like, you know, 0 should stay 0, 1 should stay 1, but like down here we want to turn 7 should turn into 0, 8 should turn into 1, 9 into 2, 10 into 3, etc., etc. So I think this is going to work, because we want to store like any of the days, any of the passengers that are on day 9, we really want to store them in the collection, in our daily collection location 2, if that kind of makes sense. I'm not sure how well that makes sense. Hopefully you can follow along though. Yeah, so we're going to keep adding this up, and then I think that's good. So I think we can just end our loop here. And so now what we have, if we run this loop, we are going to have all of our data kind of conglomerated into our daily list. And now we need to go through and find out which day has the most which day has the highest number of passengers. So it's looking good. Okay, so I think we're going to say the first thing we should do is like set a max value, like use a max value to keep track of the highest. You know, actually we want to keep, this is actually a pretty challenging problem. There's a lot of parts in this, I think, in terms of using like modulo, in terms of finding the index of the highest value. Like this is a pretty challenging problem compared to some of the previous problem. Yeah, I mean, compared to some of the other problems that we did in the same like category, I think this is a pretty challenging problem because there's a lot of things going on here. So max is going to be, it's going to keep track of, what I'm going to use it for is to keep track of the highest, the index location in daily that has the highest number of passengers. Okay, so to begin with, I'm going to say that location is at location 0. So at the beginning of the array, daily. So that would be like that would be Monday, right? So if that happens to have the highest value, max won't change as we do our loop. We're going to kind of loop through daily to see if any of the other values, any of the other days have a higher number of passengers than, I was just thinking, do we have to do any kind of average? No, okay. We'll look through highest average number of, oh, maybe this, man, this might be really hard. This part, not really hard, but like, I keep thinking of more layers. I think this part might actually be important, because if we have a, because if we have a day that's only Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like for example, they stopped collecting data on Tuesday, then Monday and Tuesday got an extra day worth of passengers. This is a pretty interesting problem. Let me try this for now, and we'll kind of loop back around and think about that. I think this is actually a really challenging problem. So, but what we need to do is we need to loop through, well, you know, first thing we should do, let's just get in our habit of saying daily, all caps for our Let's reset next on that, and then we're going to loop through this. So we're going to say daily dot has next. Well, daily has next, and we need to say like if. I feel like maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe there's an easier way of doing this, but I don't think so. So we're going to loop through, and then we're going to say if daily. I mean, I'm going to keep track of my index. I think this is just easier than worrying about pseudocode. I'm going to make a new index called 0 here, and I'll just say index is equal to 0. I'm going to say daily 0, or not, jeez, index is greater than daily max. And I think they kind of like to do this like if-then statements. Then max is going to be equal to index. So basically, look through this loop of numbers, look through this loop of 7 numbers. If any one of those numbers has a higher value than our current max, we're going to set max to be equal to that location. And then we'll end if, and we are going to end loop. So now we have a location of the highest value. Yeah, I'm kind of curious about how this is going to work out here. I'm going to code as if that doesn't matter, and then let's check the answer key and see how many points I miss. Okay, so and now we need to just print out which day is going to have the most. And we'll do output, and all we need to do is max, because this is going to convert whatever our number here, whatever index is, it's going to get converted to a day of the week. Okay, so we went through, we found the index location that has the most number of passengers. Hopefully that's how this should have worked, and then we're going to print that out. Now my thought is I'm sure that I'm going to lose points on this, because the problem is like the average, the problem here is the highest average number of passengers. So that's, again, like I think I already said, like that's going to mess us up. If Monday or Tuesday gets an extra number of passengers, that's going to mess us up a little bit. But I'm really curious about how we would code. Like, is there an easy way to code to avoid having those kind of extra days? Seems like there'd be. I feel like there's a way to do it, but I think it'd be pretty complicated. I wonder. So let me just check the answer key and let's just kind of compare to see how many points I got or lost here. So that was this one. I think hopefully we checked B already. Okay, so max average is equal to. Okay. Okay, so taking the. I'm doing this all in one loop, so that's interesting. Okay, so loop for day. So they're doing nested loops here, one loop inside of the other. For day to X, loop while. Okay. Oh, so they're actually not using modulo here. That's kind of interesting. So I wonder if they're including an average here. So they did something a little bit different here, right? They are. Oh, and then they said there's 2 different versions, so maybe the version down below. But here they're just kind of skipping through the steps. I wonder why are they doing this? C is equal to C plus 6. Kind of interesting. I'm not sure why they are doing both of these, because they seem like these are doing different things. C plus 6. Seems like plus 7 is the correct answer here. Anyways. Okay. If. Okay. Yeah. This is kind of just a weird way of doing it. I mean, let's see. So we're saying sum here. sum is equal to 0. So we're looking for, so I think that's just going through the original array list. Yeah, day to x. So in my mind, what's happening here, I think, is we're basically finding all the Mondays and getting the average for that. So I kind of put everything into a separate array. I think here they're just looking through the original array and finding every 7th date, like looking through starting from 0 and then 0, 7, 14, 21 all the way down, adding all those together, dividing by counter to find the average. If it's bigger than the current max average, then we'll update this, and we're going to set the maximum day is equal to the current day, which works. Let's see, output max day. See, but this is okay. So it didn't. So in here, I was worried about like this part. You should not assume that for an exact number of weeks to store. But I don't see, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing this. I don't see that they're coding for that. I don't see that they are checking to see, or maybe they are. Maybe this is going to cut off. Maybe this is somehow not going to include those days. I don't think so. From day loop for C. From day to x. So 0, so that's a location. That's like the current day that we're on, to x, and that's just the length, minus 1. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. We're starting from whatever day. If it's like p array, x is just going to be the length of the array, so basically just to the end of the array, starting from our day. Sure. So if day is 0, then we start from 0. Okay, 1, yeah. Well, I think you could write this easier. And then oh, and look, we messed up. So this is actually a lost point here. Correct use of convert sub procedure. So I did not do that. I should have run convert, which I didn't. Let's see here. Oh, so they're doing. I think this is going to be closer to the one that I did. Max day is equal to 0 day sum array. And I think they're going to break this into 2 different arrays. Let's take a look here. But they didn't use modulo, which I'm kind of surprised. It makes sense that you could do it, but modulo seemed like a correct way of doing it for me. Okay. It's just weird. Like they don't do some of these. Like sometimes they really, for sure, including like reset next, but other times they're not. It doesn't always seem like it makes sense to me why they chose to include it or not. I personally am just going to include it as often as I can remember it because I don't know. Maybe they'll take points off for it, maybe not. Count is equal to 0. Okay. And this should be fine. I mean, their loop is going to be the exact same as mine, just named slightly different. Oh no, here they're doing mod. Okay, so day is equal to count mod 7. So that makes sense. That's exactly what we're doing in here. Yeah, I mean they're gonna. Where did I use my mod in here? Yeah, I did this. Yeah. So what they're doing, I put my things kind of in one. I put it all together. I didn't make a separate variable for day, which they did. So if you kind of replace day in here with count mod 7, you're gonna get the same thing as what I have. Number of weeks. Wait. Let's go to weeks day. Pause for a second. Okay, I see what they're doing now. See, yeah, so actually I would have been wrong. Okay, I was really thinking about the problem the wrong way as far as, where's this little nugget at here? This little, you should not assume that the exact number of weeks is stored. Yes, okay, so that makes sense. Yeah, and I really had a bad thought about how to do this, that I was thinking that we should just cut off the data, that if it's not a full week, we should cut off the data. But actually that's going to lose data, so of course that doesn't make sense. We need to keep track of how many weeks there are for each day. So how many Mondays are there in this data? How many Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, etc. in this data? So that's what they're doing right here. That's what this is for. They have one array. So one array is keeping track of the total number of days, or total number of passengers on each day, Monday through Sunday. And then also this is keeping track of how many weeks there are of each day, or if that makes sense. Like how many Monday, I guess basically like how many Mondays are there? How many Mondays happened in the data? and they're storing that in this weeks array. Yeah. Okay. And so here, this is what we're doing. Well, I'm doing it. I'm sure you're doing something better. This is what I'm doing, but I didn't keep track of the number of weeks. So when they get down to here, yeah, it's kind of interesting how like it seems like from year to year they have slightly different ways of doing this. This seems much more like a Java method, whereas the loop while seems much more just purely pseudocode. This is a long video. Sorry. Let me wrap this up. So, day sum count weeks count is greater than max day. Yeah. And they're setting max day originally to be. So that's very similar to what we have here. So I think I'm going to lose. I'll lose a point for sure for not using this convert procedure. That's minus 1 point. And then where else am I going to lose a point? Yeah, so it's finding max days. That's all fine. I'm going to lose something here for incrementing the number of weeks for each day. So I'll lose 2 points on this one. End up with like a 5 out of 7, which, you know, wish I could do better on that one. But that does make sense. I think I just thought about that in a bad way. I think it makes a lot of sense to store this. I'm going to stop the video there. It's super long. I really didn't want to go this long. But I think this problem was actually quite challenging. I think there were 3 really challenging parts to it. But I mean, maybe the way I approached it was challenging. I thought the use of mod was challenging. They kind of got around using it, which also makes sense. I thought the use of mod was challenging. I thought the use of finding the index, like using this max, using the index thing to like keep track of not just what is the largest value, but what is the location of the largest value, is kind of like a, not like super hard, but a little bit tricky. So those are 2 things. And then the third thing here is keeping track of the number of weeks. I think is easy to mistake. Even I saw it, but I didn't immediately kind of realize how I should approach that one. So this is definitely, it's a longer video. I think this is also a much more challenging problem than the other ones. Just personally for me, maybe it's just I'm late and I'm tired, but this one seems like it had a lot more kind of twists and turns than some of the other ones. So it's a good problem, good one.